Tonight, the message, we're going to actually continue through Mark 11. The last service, or the last time we taught, which is, was it 2 weeks ago? Because we did the prayer, we did the interview and the prayer, right? So 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Jesus coming into Jerusalem, and the message was called Hail to the King. He was fulfilling prophecy, and he was showing up, and everyone was singing, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. And now we're going to continue where this is actually one of my favorite stories in the Bible because it's punk rock Jesus in his finest, being punk rock. It's where he clears the temple. Maybe some of you here are like, Jesus, punk rock. Check this out. Jesus actually goes against the whole religious system that was set in place with man-made rules at this point. It was totally, completely corrupt. And being punk rock, it's in the mind. It's going against the grain pretty much, and now that I'm a Christian, I'm punk rock still, and I'm following Jesus because the whole world hates Jesus. So we're going against the whole world system. And people, if you're here and you're like, man, people don't like me because I'm a Christian, well, guess what? They didn't like Jesus. They actually crucified him. Thank God you're not crucified. It's rad, though. This is where Jesus is going to actually go and basically shake up the temple. And before we get going, tonight, this message is called Heart of Thieves. So I want to introduce, first things first, there's an image I'm going to have come up. I don't know if you guys seen this on the news. This is a pastor who owns 2 Rolls Royces, pleads for 200,000 church supporters to donate 300 or more each so he can buy a $65 million private jet to better spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Has anyone ever read that in the Bible? What I read in the Bible is that Jesus said, take nothing and just go, right? 65 million. This is actually, I read this on the news the other day. I was crying, laughing when I seen this. At first, I was actually angry, but then I started laughing. I'm like, is this guy really serious? And there's many of these guys. I mean, you've seen him on TV. You guys know what I'm talking about. Goes on to say he wants a $65 million jet to better spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. It goes on to say he's 53 years old. He has 30,000 member church. And his estimated worth is $27 million. $27 million? Why was he even getting paid or even asking for money? You know what I mean? And think about if you had $65 million jet, if you had that much money, think about what you could do just with that money alone. I mean, talking about spreading the gospel, dude, you can go feed all of Africa and a couple other countries. I mean, you could go nuts and you can fly first class if you want and still feed everyone for many years. But this dude wants a $65 million jet. Are you kidding me? Well, you read in the Bible where it talks about Timothy, or Paul tells Timothy, hey, beware of these false teachers, man, that come in and try and corrupt the church, and they try and get rich off the church. He warns about these people. And if his congregation read the Bible, they went through teaching through the Bible, maybe not topical studies, they went through the whole Bible, they would get to the part where they realized, they'd be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Some things are not adding up. Our pastor's in a $65 million jet, and we're doing what? We're funding this project? That's why it's important to go through the whole Bible, because the Bible warns about these false teachers. So there's not a problem with giving to ministries. We talk about giving, and we always obviously talk about giving to the Whosoever movement, and I'm not using this as a card to give to the movement, but I want to show you the difference between giving to something that is something like insane like this, and what we do. We, obviously, those CDs and DVDs we give out, we've given out over 500,000 of those CDs and DVDs for free. We ask for donations because as people donate, it helps print them so we can keep giving them away. We give them out at concerts, music festivals, high schools, colleges. People are constantly giving them out. I just seen a photo of some people in San Diego at a concert. And they said that they gave out a bunch of CDs in the parking lot at a concert. We had people up at the forum last night passing out CDs. And that's how we do our outreach. Our high schools that we're going to. I mean, you're talking, we're going to be going to 18 to 21 high schools just as of right now that we have in the pipeline that they want us to come. I mean, just to do that project, that's like $150,000 that we're going to be spending to go to get an in-and-out truck and to fund the band and the stage, sound, and lighting. But we're going to do it for free for the kids. But that right there could be up to $200,000. But we're giving back. we're not part of that stuff. I'm on staff here with Calvary Chapel Diamond Bar. So what you guys give to the movement, that doesn't go into my pocket. That actually goes into 100% outreach stuff. And we're doing a movie premiere that we're getting flyers out right now for our movie premiere at all the mainstream secular concerts, because we want that place to be full of non-Christians. So what you give to, that actually goes into funding those projects. We're not buying jets. And I'm not against jets. Hey, if someone wants to donate a $65 million jet, we'll use it. No problem. We'll use it, but we ain't spending your guys' money on that stuff, for sure. So here we go. Let me read. We're going to start up in Mark chapter 11, verse 11. It goes on to say, so Jesus came to Jerusalem and went into the temple. After looking around carefully at everything, he left because it was too late in the afternoon. Then he returned to Bethany with his 12 disciples. So Jesus visited he used to go to the temple a lot. He observed the Jewish customs, and he remember when he was, I think he was like 12 years old or whatever, and he went to the temple, and then they were on their way back with Mary and Joseph, and remember they were looking for him in the caravan, and they couldn't find him. So they went all the way back to Jerusalem, and they found him like posted up in his father's house, just chilling in the temple. And Mary's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing here in the temple? We're on our way home. And he says, hey, I'm about my father's business. I'm here, like I'm in the scriptures. I'm trying to learn. I'm doing my thing. I'm here on earth for my father's business. So he visited Jerusalem frequently for the festivals. And he also, when he got baptized at the beginning of his public ministry, when he was around 30 years old, he got baptized by his cousin. And then immediately after that, he was filled with the Holy Spirit. And then he started his public ministry. And the next thing you know, you see he meets Satan in the wilderness. And then he does his first miracle in the book of John, where he shows up to the party and they run out of wine, and he shows up and he's like, make wine for him. And you're like, who is this guy? He gets baptized by the Holy Spirit, shows up to this party, makes all this wine for everyone. And then the next thing he's doing, he's showing up in the Jerusalem, and he goes in and he looks at the temple. And I want to read his first experience of going into the temple when he first started his public ministry in John 1. You don't have to turn there, or you can. John chapter 2, verse 13. So this is what Jesus sees when he first goes the first time to his father's house when he starts his public ministry. In chapter 2, verse 13, it says, it was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration, so Jesus went to Jerusalem. In the temple area, he saw merchants selling cattle, sheep, and doves to sacrifice. He also saw dealers at the tables exchanging foreign money. Jesus made a whip for some of the ropes to chase them out of the temple. He drove out the sheep, the cattle, scattered the money changers, coins all over the floor, and he turned over the tables. Then going over to the people that sold doves, he told them, get these things out of here. Stop turning my father's house into a marketplace. Then the disciples remembered what he prophesied from the scriptures. Passion for God's house will consume him. So it goes on to say that the Jewish leaders basically came up to him, and they were like, hey man, what authority do you have? And he says, you know what? He's like, what are you doing to show us a sign if you're from God that you could just come in and just shake up the place and just kick over the tables and whip people out of here? What authority? He says, man, he's like, I'll show you what authority. He's like, you break down this temple, I'm going to raise it on the third day. Basically saying, when you crucify me and you kill me, I'm going to show you a miracle. I'm going to raise from the third day. But they didn't understand what was going on because they didn't have God's heart. They weren't students of the Bible, so they didn't foresee what that was prophecy that was happening, that Jesus was just fulfilling prophecy going into the temple. So why did Jesus go in, and what did he see at that time when he went to the temple? I'm going to pull up a picture. When we went to Israel, we saw this layout of Jerusalem. This is the temple the way it would have looked back then. And to the left in those quarters is basically where the temple where the market would have been set up, where people would have been set up for, the cattle and the doves. So the red roofs in the back of all those buildings in the back, people would enter through that gate right there. Then they would walk across this corridor right here, and that would be the whole marketplace for the Gentiles. And that little city to the very left of this long red roof right there, that's actually where King David lived. So that's actually where King David would have seen Bathsheba chilling on the roof right there. So basically chilling, exactly. Bathsheba, she was having a bath. So right here So that's basically what would happen. So Jesus comes in and he walks in and he sees all these people that are selling doves. And basically what he saw is, there would be hundreds of thousands of people that would come for this festival every year. So the priest would obviously, I just wrote down a couple notes, the priest saw it was an opportunity. They're like, hey man, we can make a little quick buck. We can make a commission. People are coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from Europe. They're all coming down to celebrate this festival. They're like, well, a lot of people don't want to carry their lambs or their turtle doves or, their sheep to come to this festival. So I got an idea. Let's just basically, let's put some sheep in there. Let's put some turtle doves and let's make some money. Let's basically put a system into place where we'll say that these are already approved by the priest for the temple. So you could just come in and you could buy them. But what they did is they were ripping off the people. Because if you were poor and you wanted to go in and worship God and you had no money, you would basically bring in a dove. Because that's what Joseph and Mary brought in with Jesus when she was pregnant, a dove, because that's all they could afford. And then a rich person could afford a lamb and so on and so forth. So they're like, yeah, you could buy a dove. Instead of buying it for, you could probably buy it retail for $20. You come to the temple, you have to buy it for $40. So if you were to show up at the temple and you were trying to go worship God, they would actually make it hard if there was something wrong with it, or if they decide just to be jerks. They'd be like, oh yeah, you can't use this dove. You have to go buy one of ours. So now this poor person that basically went out of their way to get this nice dove and protect it so it didn't have any blemishes and bring it to the temple so they could worship God, the priests are making it hard for these people to just come in and be in God's presence. So they're like, oh no, you can't use that. Go buy one of ours so they can make commission off of it. And then on top of it, you have you also have the temple tax. So basically people come from all over the world with all this different kinds of money. So they said, oh, you know what we're going to do? We don't want them to come in and use their money with Caesar on it or maybe the money from Ethiopia. What we'll do is we'll charge them a temple tax. So to exchange the money for the temple tax, what they would do is they would charge just to exchange money. It would be a 2-day wage for a man, just to exchange their money. So they're just taxing these people. They're just ruining these people. They're taking advantage of people that have a heart to serve God. They're making it hard for people to worship God. And think about this. People that have gone out of their way because they're like, I really want God to, I love God so much. I want to bring this dove. I want to bring this sheep. And they raised it, tried protecting it. They put all this time and effort into it for years to bring it for this sacrifice. Now they're just totally discrediting that because they're making it easy now for people just that don't want to worship God, that just want to be religious. And it's the festival time. I'm just going to show up. I'm not going to put all of this love into bringing this sheep and doing it because God called us to do it. I'm just going to show up to the temple and just buy a dove or buy a sheep and go sacrifice and just play religion. So they're making it easy for people that don't want to worship God to be religious. So it was a whole corrupt system. So Jesus basically comes to Jerusalem. Like in verse 11, it says that so Jesus came to Jerusalem and went into the temple. After looking around carefully at everything, he left because it was too late in the afternoon. Then he returned to Bethany with the 12 disciples. So Jesus basically walks in 3 years later now, okay? After turning the place upside down, putting the Father's house into order the way it was designed to be, it was placed to be a place for worship and prayer, not a place to basically rip people off. So he goes in, he shakes it up, he leaves. He comes back 3 days later and he walks in. And it says that he walked in and he looked around. And then he looked very carefully at everything that was going on. He got the disciples. He's like, let's go back to Bethany to Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. He's alive. He's not dead. Let's go chill with him again. So they go back to their house. And after seeing exactly what he saw the first time, he saw it all happening again. So what does he do? He goes back to Bethany. And we know that God, or Jesus, always talked to his Father God in heaven every day to find out what he wanted to do. Because remember, he said, I'm not here to have my will be done. It's to have his will be done. And we could have took this situation and been very angry about something and just went nuts. But what I like about Jesus' example is he was very angry because it was a righteous anger. He left. He went back. He talked to God and said, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to react? And how many times do we sometimes just react? And then after shoot, I should have talked to God about how I should have took care of that situation instead of just getting angry and mad. So he goes back, he hears the Father's will. So now, the next day, verse 12, he shows up. The next morning, As they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. He noticed a fig tree in a full leaf a little way off. So he went over to see if it had any figs. But there were only leaves because it was too early in the season for the fruit. Now we know that the fig trees, they get like a pre-fruit around April, and then they're like little smaller figs, and then in the summertime they fully develop. But at this time, during April, there was nothing there, Mark says. So verse 14, it says, then Jesus said to the tree, may no one ever eat fruit again. And the disciples heard him say this. So now what is Jesus doing? First of all, he's cursing a tree, and he's talking to a tree. What the heck is going on here? This is kind of weird a little bit, you know? So what's going on is that in the Old Testament, the Bible refers to the nation of Israel as being the fig tree and producing fruit or not producing fruit. So basically what Jesus is saying, he's like, he's basically making a prophecy that's what's going to happen to Israel. He's saying that Israel in the year 70 AD is that they're going to get overrun by the Romans, and Israel's going to get destroyed, and all the Jews are going to scatter abroad. But what's going on is he's basically referring to Israel as the fig tree. He says he basically, from afar, he's walking to Jerusalem. He could see the sacrifice, the smoke of the sacrifice. He could smell it. He sees all the people. He sees all the turtle doves, the sheep. It looks like it's amazing. It looks like the temple of the nation of Israel is just flourishing. It looks amazing. But then when Jesus walks in, and he starts peeking around, looking around and seeing what's really going on. Behind all the leaves, he starts looking, and he's like, there's no fruit here. This is a complete corrupt system going on here. So he's basically referring to Israel. It's completely corrupt, and there's no fruit happening. And as I was starting to read this, I went into this whole Bible study going, oh yeah, Jesus is punk rock. He's going to go shake up the place. He's going to go whip some butt, right? But then as I start studying, God, the Holy Spirit starts speaking to me. And he starts telling me, what does Jesus see when he looks at your life? And I started thinking to myself, what does God see when he starts looking at our life? I started thinking, okay, let's think about the person that has the big Christian sticker on their car, the fish eating Darwin, or the fish, or Jesus saves. They got the whole Hillsong collection. They got the Not of This World t-shirt, John 3:16. They got the whole verse on the back. They got the whole Christian kit going on, right? But then, so say you're that person. I'm not pointing any fingers. We all got to inventory our own lives. You got the Christian slang too. You talk Christianese. Oh, brother. Oh, I was so blessed. Oh, I'm blessed by the best. I heard that message the other week. I got my socks blessed off. Socks blessed right off. Came home, just my shoes chilling. No socks. The power of the Holy Spirit was thick from heaven, fire. I don't even know. What's some other Christianese? Whatever it is, you got it on lock. You come in, you're doing your thing. But when Jesus looks in to your life, honestly, he looks and he's like, dude, where's the fruit, dude? You got the whole pack. You're like the Pharisees. And what did Jesus say? He said the Pharisees are like whitewashed sepulchres in the King James Version, or in the New Living Translation. He says you're like whitewashed tombs. When you guys go to Israel, you'll be driving down the street and you'll look over, and literally you'll see a tomb that looks just like the Jesus tomb. It's like on the side of the road, and there's like a little round rock pulled over, just like you've seen in the movies and in photos, but it's like bleached white. And you're like, hey, what the heck is that? I mean, first of all, it looks like, it's like that big. You're like, what the heck is that little tomb going on? Or that thing on the side of the road, they said, that's a tomb. And they said, yeah, it's basically, they bleach it white so it looks clean as you're driving by. And what Jesus said to those religious people, to those disciples, the guys that were bearing no fruit, he says, you guys are like whitewashed sepulchres. You guys are like whitewashed tombs. Because in that culture, they bleached the tombs to make them look clean and nice from the outside. But inside, what's inside? Dead bones, rot, just disgusting fermented flesh and bones, just disgustingness. And Jesus was saying, you religious people, when you look at yourselves, you guys look like you're whitewashed. You got your Jesus t-shirt, you got your little Hillsong collection, knowing all the songs, got your fish bumping, your Jeremy Camp cracking, Jesus t-shirts, blessed by the best. But then you get home and you're corrupt. You're like dead bones. And Jesus is hitting very hard on this whole thing. And I started thinking, I'm like, yeah, man, I got to think about the stuff that I'm putting into my life. There's a lot of people I talk to And, that would be like, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian. They'd give me the whole, then you got the verses on lock and the whole deal. But then they're like, I don't have no peace. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. And I'm thinking, well, like, dude, first of all, if you have no fruit showing in your life, like, what's really going on? If you're not bearing good fruit, then you're just plain religion. There's no relationship going on. So I just really had to analyze my life and going, what am I putting into my mind? What am I watching? I mean, there's movies and stuff that you can watch dude, you'll start thinking some crazy stuff. There's music that you listen to that sounds like you're like watching a porn or listening to a porn. I mean, if you think about it, you know what I mean? I mean, just listening to Lil Wayne or any of those things. I mean, it's like, you got the radio music. The radio, go turn on, like, I don't listen to Kiss FM or any of these, but, you could hear Kiss FM or 105.9. The lyrics that are happening in there, that stuff's going in your mind, and it's just corrupting you. It's just killing you from the inside out. So going on, I was thinking about how when Jesus was talking about these people that show no fruit, and I started thinking about these evangelists on TV, for instance. I mean, perfect example. Let's talk about evangelists on TV. You see them, they got all the Christian lingo. They're like, Jesus wants you to sow a seed right now, brother. For 100, God just told me there's 30 people in the crowd right now. They're going to give $1,000. We're going to just wait. He said right now. And then they wait. I've seen something on TV of this evangelist. Me and Sonny were chilling watching TV somewhere back east, and there was this guy on TV, and he says, God just gave me a word that there's going to be people that are going to give $10,000, and we're just going to wait right now. And as you give, and then basically they wait, and I don't know what's going on, but then 10 minutes later they said, and now if you don't have the money, you could give it. You could put it on your credit card, and we won't charge you for 2 months. So go ahead and give in Jesus' name. Jesus wants you to do this. And then later on, they wait another 10 minutes, and then he goes, now, if you want to give this money right now, and you need more time, you can wait up to 6 months to pay. So basically what the guy's saying, if you're going to put on your credit card, you're already broke, right? That's how that works. So this pastor guy on TV, this evangelist, is so corrupt that he's saying, if you're broke and you can't afford your bills already, don't worry about paying it too much. Just wait 6 months. Just get in debt and deal with it in 6 months. In Jesus' name, brother, bless you. Bless you. Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. But what does Jesus talk about? These people that have these dead bones inside them, these people that are not producing fruit. Jesus talks about them in Matthew 7:15. I want to read it really quick to you. He goes on to say, he warns about false teachers in Matthew chapter 7. It says, verse 15, it says, beware of these false prophets who come disguised in harmless sheep, but they are vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit. That is, by the way they act. You can't pick grapes from a thorn bush or figs from a thistle. A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree produces a good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you identify a tree by its fruit, so you identify people by their actions. So he's basically laying it down. This is Jesus just laying down the law. He's saying basically, and I underline this, so every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. And Jesus referred to hell 20 or 280 times in the New Testament. And when he talks about being chopped down and thrown into the fire, he's talking about hell. So if you're in a place in your life, according to what Jesus is saying, if you're like, I'm a Christian, I'm walking with God, and you're not producing fruit, this is basically saying, if you're not producing fruit, you're not a good tree. Because good trees produce good fruit, and you're not producing fruit, it says that you're basically on the highway to hell. And don't hate on me, I'm just saying what Jesus is saying. So goes on to say, you can, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. So just look at your actions. Are they good or are they bad? And that really tells you where you're at with Jesus Christ in your relationship. And then it goes on to say this about being a true disciple. So maybe you don't know if you're a true disciple. Jesus says this, verse 21, not everyone who calls out to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of the Father in heaven will enter. Let me read that again. Only those who actually do the will of the Father in heaven will enter. If you call yourself a Christian and you're not doing the will of the Father, if you're not being doers of the Word of God and you're just being hearers, like James said when we went through James. James says, don't just be hearers of the Word of God. Don't just come to church and get fat off the Word of God and then leave. Be doers. And now Jesus is backing that up, saying only those who actually do the will of the Father in heaven will enter. And then going on, it says, on Judgment Day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, we prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and performed many miracles in your name. But I will reply, I never knew you. Get away from me, you who break the law. Or you workers of iniquity, in the King James Version it says. Dude, that is so gnarly. Because people are going to actually think, people right now in this place think that they're Christians. Dude, I'm blessed by the best. But there's no fruit. And if you die, it's saying on the judgment day, which it talks about in Revelations 20, it says that everyone will bow down, tall and great, kings and poor will bow down and confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And it'll be judgment day, and Jesus is going to say, basically he's going to say, hey, Ryan, I knew you. Hey, jump on get on into heaven. I'm like, peace, late, dude, you know? And then you're going to have everyone else they're going to say, hey, man, I went to Shine every Sunday night, dude. I heard Ryan. I went to hear Ries. I even went to Harvest, and I gave my life to the Lord every year at Harvest Anaheim. I walked it. But if there's no fruit, Jesus is going to be all, dude, I never knew you. You basically wasted your time. So here, body, people, friends, family, we got to get real with Christ. We got to bear fruit. So going on, what Jesus says is, and I'm going to actually skip back to verse 13. Jesus even goes on to say about how the road is to get to heaven. In verse 13, it says, you can enter the kingdom of God only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gates are wide for many who choose that way. But the gates to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only few find it. He breaks it down very simple. The highway to hell is broad. Everyone will find it. Why? Because it's very easy. How? Because you just do what everyone else is doing. Go out and live for yourself, for your selfish ambition. Be a jerk. Be angry, be bitter, have rage, listen to all this, watch porn, listen to porn pretty much through music, and live like hell, and do your thing, and live for yourself, and then that's where you end up. But the road to heaven is very narrow, and few find it. Why? Because Jesus said, if you want to be my disciple, you got to turn from your selfish way, pick up your cross, and follow me. And that's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, because Jesus is saying, dude, you got to count the costs. You got to say, look, I'm going to have to deny myself and my body appetites, and I'm going to follow you. But when you follow God and you start putting all that stuff on the cross, crucifying that stuff, putting it to death, all that stuff, that the reason why you're miserable, people that are here that are living for their body appetites and for themselves, they're miserable because you never get happy, right? You're like, oh, if I only had that hot chick, that's it. And then you get that hot chick and you're like, man, no, actually, you wouldn't hit her. But you'd be like, I was like, this chick is driving me crazy, you know? Like, she's just another girl. Oh, man, if I just had that, you know, and vice versa. If you're like, oh, if I just had that guy at church, you know? He's such an awesome Christian guy. And then you get him and you're like, God drives me crazy, you know? Or if I just had that car, if I just had that 7 Series, you know, slammed with rims and sound system or whatever. I don't know what you guys like. I don't really care about Beamers. But anyway, if you had that, oh, man, I would just have that. All that stuff is emptiness in vain. You get it and you're over it. And that's the way the things of the world, the more you try and feed those body appetites, the emptier you get. First you get that 7 Series and that's not good enough. Then you're like, what's the next one up? You know, like, and then you get the 3-bedroom house. You get the condo, then the 3-bedroom. I want the 5-bedroom. It's like, it's a never-ending rat race. And that's what Satan likes to do. He likes to keep you distraction. What's going on Instagram? Oh, I want that. Oh, what's going on? People like this photo. Ooh, what do people say about me? All these different things. I need this car. I need this hot girl. I need these clothes. All these things in the world, God or Satan likes to keep us distracted so that we don't get our eyes on God and we don't ever find that full purpose, that path to eternal life and that path that God created us for. that niche, spiritually speaking, that call that God has called us for. What we have to do is we got to deny ourselves, pick up our cross and follow us. We got to murder our flesh. In Romans 8:13 it says, if you live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if you live after the Spirit and do mortify the deeds of the flesh, ye shall live. And in simple terms out of my mouth, you got to kill the noise. All that noise, all that stuff is just noise and distractions. This Instagram game, you get caught up for hours, just Instagram. You're not even living. God's like, dude, I got this plan for you. And you're like, just living through people's lives, or I got it. You're just spending your whole life working hard to get these things that are just empty when you should be hanging out with your family and taking care of your family. All that stuff is just noise, you guys. We have one life, and it will soon be past. And whatever we do here on earth for Christ is the only thing that's going to last. That's it. So if anything you take away from here, kill the noise. Deny yourself. Murder your flesh. Follow God. And then you're going to be on that narrow path, and you're going to be all good. And Jesus is going to be all like, well done, my faithful servant. Roll on in. You're not going to be going the other way. You don't want to go that way. You want to be going into the gates behind him. So to make sure that happens, you got to just get in the will of the Father God. So going on back in chapter 11 of Mark, Jesus is now in verse 15. It says, so when they arrived back in Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out the people buying and selling the animals for sacrifice. Okay. So the first time when he went in, he looked around and he actually whipped everyone out. Now he came back. He observed everything in the morning or the day before. So now he came in. He's not even playing games. He just came in kicking and whipping. He's not like sussing it out anymore, He's just rolling right in. Going on, it says, he knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs and those selling doves. And he stopped everyone for using the temple as a marketplace. And, I love saying this. I heard Papa Chuck say it, and I'm going to quote Papa Chuck. It doesn't say Jesus hit anyone, but it doesn't say he didn't. And we know Jesus. Some people are like, oh, Jesus is that guy that's in the nursery holding the little lamb all week, like, hi, I'm Jesus. I'm the God of the universe, Or is he punk rock Jesus? Well, from what I read, Jesus was a carpenter, construction worker, right? Construction workers are gnarly, right? They're gnarly, right? The disciples, sons of thunder, they want to, angry guys. Peter, Mr. Courage guy, always saying stuff, but always probably getting, he's always in the mix, dude. Always like the first one there, running to the tomb. Saw Jesus breaking bread on the beach when Jesus came back and revealed himself to him. Like, that's Jesus? John's like, yeah, that's Jesus. Peter's like, ripped off his stuff, got in his tunic, broke out, swam across. Courageous, crazy man. I saw him in the Bible movie when they went into the temple and they were rolling up on Jesus, and Peter in the Bible movie rolled up on them, like flexed on him. I was like, yeah, that's Peter, dude. That's totally Peter. And these guys, dude, they rolled it. Picture this crew rolling into the temple, okay? Did they have a place to stay? Remember, they're like, hey, where do you stay, Jesus? He's like, come, I'll show you. Foxes don't, basically he's like, I don't have a place to stay. He's sleeping out. They're just sleeping in the desert. Think about these guys. These guys, the disciples is like a motley crew of dudes, okay? They're sleeping out there. They're not taking showers. It's in the desert. Have you been to Israel? Some of you guys have been there, dude. It's like desert. It gets like sketchy out there under the trees, desert, wind. The Jews have like super curly hair. Probably like some of them have like one lock coming out or two. Beards, dirty. They roll into the city. All of a sudden they're like rolling in like the city of Jerusalem's probably like rolling through Manhattan. Now you got all these dirt bags, motley crew like rolling through with Jesus. And these guys are probably like, what's up with these dudes? There's like 12 of them. There's like a posse of them like kind of cruising in, checking out. Jesus kind of checking out the temple. Peter's like kind of looking around. Sons of Thunder just like, what's up, Jesus? So you got to think about this crew. So they go in. Jesus starts kicking the place, whipping people out, doing the whole thing. And no one put their hands on him. Why? Because Jesus was a gnarly dude. He had compassion for days. I want to be very clear. He's not this angry guy. There's righteous anger. Like when you hear about, dude, they're human trafficking girls. Dude, let's go kill these guys. That's righteous anger, dude. Someone that's taking advantage of a little kid, selling them for sex, I'm going to beat that dude down. In Jesus' name, forgive me after. Jesus, forgive me for my sins. Thy will be done. It's righteous anger. This place was supposed to be a place for the poor and the rich, whoever, to come and worship God. People were keeping the poor and the rich, and just people away from God, from coming in and breaking their pockets. So Jesus is angry because Father God, remember, I am in him and he is in me. Father God's like, Jesus, go break him off. He goes in and he tears up, and no one touches Jesus because Jesus is a construction worker. He's big, he's bad. They're looking crazy coming out of the desert. You know what I mean? No one's messing. Sons of Thunder and all those dudes. See, some of you guys have that posse. Me and my friends, we got a crazy posse. No one's messing with us. I can relate to this whole deal. And I know some of you guys can too. So he's not weak, that's for sure. So going on, but like I said, I'm going to be clear. Jesus was always moved with compassion when he saw the people that were desperate for God, or when they were blind, or when they were sick, the girl that was bleeding for 12 years. Lazarus was dead. He saw Mary and Martha crying, and he got angry, and he rolled up, and he's just like, open up that tomb. Lazarus, God the Father, I'm going to just say this prayer so everyone could see you get the glory. Please, Father God, answer my prayer. Lazarus, stand up. And Lazarus is dead. He's just like, whoa, what's cracking? I'm back. Come out. Let's go break some bread. Let's go get some tacos, or hummus or whatever. Jesus was moved with compassion, dude. He was just like one of us. But the thing is, he was holy, and he had the heart of God. He was God. He was 100% man and 100% God. And that's why we go through things in our life. Jesus knows. Jesus knows exactly. When we're going through those trials and tribulations in our life, Jesus knows what's up. My mom's, when she's been dealing with this whole cancer thing for 6 years, Jesus knows what's up. He's there. He's going to get her through. We're going to trust in him. He knows. And it's all about thy will being done. So Jesus is strong. No one laid their hands on him. So going on, it says, he knocked over the tables and the money changers and the chairs and those that were selling the doves. And he stopped everyone from using the temple as a marketplace. He said to them, the scriptures declare, my temple will be called a house of prayer for the nations, but you have turned it into a den of thieves. And I started thinking, Paul talks about our body being the temple of the Lord, correct? Before Jesus died and raised from the dead and sent this Holy Spirit into us, and the Holy Spirit dwells inside of us, and we became the temple of the Lord, they used to go to the temple to worship. So I started thinking about now, what's going on in our temple? Is it a place for a den of thieves? Do we have a heart of thieves? Or is it a place where Jesus could come in and look inside of us and go, you know what? I feel welcome here. Or is Jesus coming in and looking into our hearts and just going, dude, this is a den of thieves. This is disgusting. It's gnarly. You got to really think. Jesus is with us everywhere we go. And when we're putting that gnarly stuff in, is Jesus like, oh yeah, this is a cool little Wayne song? Faux show. Or is he like, ugh, this is disgusting. He's not mad at you because he loves you. He's not judging you. But he's just like, I got so much better for you, man. So we got to analyze our lives, where we stand with God. Verse 18, it says, when the leading priests and teachers of religious law heard what Jesus had done, they began planning how to kill him. But they were all afraid of him because of the people were so amazed at his teaching. And I'll keep going on. That evening, Jesus and the disciples left the city. So what's funny is I'm laughing now, these teachers of religious law that teach the 10 Commandments and all these laws. So now that they see what Jesus has done, now they're planning to kill him. And what's interesting is Jesus is just fulfilling prophecy. He's just fulfilling prophecy that the Messiah would come and have passion for his temple. But they're not Bible scholars. They're too caught up in making money and flying around in their $65 million jets. They don't care. They're not caught up in the Word of God. They're not Bible teachers. And on top of it, they're breaking one of the 10 commandments. If these guys are so religious and so down with God's word, what is that commandment? Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. They're breaking one of the commandments. Hey, I don't like what Jesus is doing. Let's kill him. That's in one of the 10 commandments. That shows how far gone these religious people are. And today, we have people that are religious in their minds, but they're out to lunch. They're so far from God's heart. So going on, it says that evening, Jesus and the disciples left in the city. So the next morning, as they passed by the fig tree that he had cursed, the disciples noticed that it was withered up from the root. So now they left, and they're walking down the street, and they see the fig tree that he cursed. It's all withered up from the root. And I started thinking, when you look at a plant, just if you look at a plant outside, if it's not producing fruit, if the root is dead, it can't produce fruit. But if the root is good, there's a chance of it will produce fruit, correct? And I started thinking, like, if you're here and you're not producing fruit in your life, well, you got to go to the root of the problem. What's the root of a human? It's our hearts. If you're not producing fruit, it means your root is dead. The root's bad. So we got to analyze our life. If you're not producing fruit in your life, it's your heart. Your heart's bad. And you need to get your root alive. You need to water it. So as I was thinking about what scriptures would be perfect for this, Jesus gives us the answer, how to water that root. And maybe you have a dead root right now, and you need to water it. Jesus says in John 4:13, it says this. Jesus said to the Samaritan woman. Now remember, this Samaritan woman, she is religious, super religious. She knows all about religion. But the problem is, she's been with a bunch of dudes. She's lived with a guy. I think, how many times was she married? Like 5 times or something? Or more maybe. And she's living with a guy now. So Jesus basically tell her, hey, fetch me some water. And then he goes, hey, I'll give you some water. And he goes on to say, Jesus replied, anyone who drinks from this water will soon become thirsty, this human water that we all drink. But then he goes on to say in verse 14, but those who drink from the water I give will never be thirsty again. It will become a fresh bubbling spring within them, giving eternal life. So maybe you're here right now and you're like, dude, my heart's dead. My root is dead. How in the heck do I change it all? Well, if you come to Jesus, and the water that Jesus is talking about is that living water, that Holy Spirit. He's saying, hey, the water that I give, if you come to me, it'll be a little fresh bubbling water in your stomach. And that sounds about right. That's probably what, if you have a dead heart right now, you need a little bubbling spring in you right now. That sounds about right for you guys, right? Then it goes on to say in John 7:37, it says this. Here's another thing he says about living water. It says, on the day, the climax of the festival, Jesus stood out and shouted to the crowds, anyone who is thirsty may come to me. Anyone who believes in me may come and drink. For the scriptures declare rivers of living water will flow forth from the heart. And when Jesus was saying this, he was talking about torrents of living water in the King James version is what it says. And now there's a difference of having a little bubbling spring inside of you or having torrents of living water. Have you ever seen Niagara Falls? Have you ever been there? Niagara Falls is like a rushing torrent of living water. It's so powerful. And if you got maybe a bad heart, maybe you got a lot of dead bones in there, it's corrupt, you got a lot of garbage in there. When you ask Jesus, I want to drink from the holy water or the living water. I want you to come into my life and I want you to baptize me. That torrents of living water will literally come in and just clean you out. He'll start pushing out that garbage, that stuff that's in your mind that you're trying to get out. He'll start pushing that stuff out. That stuff that's in your heart, that rage, that anger. Maybe you even have you've been hurt by someone. Maybe you've been in a situation where you've been even molested or raped or whatever. Maybe you even had abortions and stuff like that. And you got the stuff that's in your heart that's just lurking in there. And the enemy is just playing that against you. He's just saying, God hates you. He wants nothing to do with you. You're no good, this and that. What God's going to do with the torrents of living water, he's going to baptize you. He's going to start cleaning you out, and he's going to fill you with his love. And he's going to walk you out of that stuff. And those burdens that you have, he's going to start carrying those burdens. He said, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, for I will give you peace and rest for your soul. Take my yoke upon you, he says, and let me teach you. I am gentle at heart. Those burdens that you're carrying, he wants to relieve you. He wants to carry those. He wants to show you how to walk with him. Even if you're a brand new Christian, he's going to show you trial and error. It's like when a baby, when he's learning how to walk. I've used this illustration. When you have a baby and he's learning how to crawl, at first he's laying on the ground drooling and stuff, and then finally he starts crawling, and then he gets up and starts walking, and then he falls over. What do you say? Stupid baby, get up and walk. Son, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to get up and just pin it and just take off running. No. What do? You pick him back up and you're, okay, come on, let's do it again. Then he walks all out of control, falls over again, picks him up again. That's what Jesus does with us. He picks us up, trial and error, and he keeps walking. But you got to learn how to walk. There's a lot of people here that have been Christian for 10 years, and you're still that infant. You're still looking for breast milk from your mom. Like, that's what it talks about in, Paul talks about. He says, some of you guys have been Christians for a long time, but you still want breast milk instead of being a Christian for 10 years and eating the milk and the potatoes. You're still trying to nurse. You have to learn how to walk with God, and he's going to walk with you, and he's going to teach you. Does it say about breast milk in the Bible? What does it say? Milk. Well, he's referring to breast milk. He's been saying baby. That's where babies get it from, right? I was like, that doesn't sound right. But it is right. I just broke it down a little bit more. Anyway, going on. It goes on to say, and we're going to be closing here soon. It says, verse 21, Peter remembered what Jesus said to the tree to the previous day and exclaimed, look, Rabbi, the fig tree you cursed is withered and died. And then Jesus said to the disciples, have faith in God, I tell you the truth. You can say to this mountain, may you be lifted up and be thrown into the sea, and it will happen. But you must really believe it will happen, and have no doubt in your heart. I will tell you, you can pray for anything, and if you believe, you will receive it, and it will be yours. Now is Jesus saying, pray that you'll be rich and you'll be rich, or pray for that jet, you'll get that jet or that Lamborghini? Or is he saying, is this a lesson of how to throw a mountain into a sea? Well, he's obviously talking to the disciples, and the Mount of Olives is right there is what he's talking to the disciples about. And the Mount of Olives, it's still there, my friends. So he didn't give the lesson to the disciples of how to throw the Mount of Olives into the sea. He's basically saying those mountains in your life, those things I was just actually talking to you guys about, these things that we're carrying in our lives are like, oh, my marriage is jacked up. Oh, man, God, I need a miracle. Oh, God, these bad things happened to me when I was young, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was a young kid, and people took advantage of me. Those mountains that you're like still dealing with in your life. Maybe it's that alcohol problem. Maybe it's that porn problem that 68% of the church, actually Christians in the church, are consuming porn. Maybe it's that problem, and that's a mountain. And boy, that's a mountain. Am I not right, you guys? I mean, some of you guys have got set free. I've got set free of it. But boy, that is a mountain to overcome. He's basically saying those mountains in your life, if you believe and you pray with no doubt in your heart, God will get that mountain out of your way, and you will be set free. Why? Because whoever the Son of God sets free is free indeed. But, and Jesus actually says, but. And I've talked to you guys about the but man. Don't be a but man. But in this situation, Jesus is saying, but when you are praying, first forgive anyone you are holding a grudge against, so that the Father in heaven will forgive you of your sins too. So if you're trying to move these mountains in your life, you got to forgive people. You can't carry all this baggage and then just pray and expect God to work all these miracles in your life when you're holding all this resentment and stuff. You got to be set free of this stuff. You got to completely surrender to God, deny yourself, and say, God, help me. Because there's people I've had to forgive, and I'm like, God, help me. I don't want to forgive this guy. I want to fight him, actually. Help me. And then, dude, God starts doing a supernatural work. Why? Because he does the supernatural and the natural. He starts working on our heart, and he starts setting you free of these things. And then you could forgive these people. And then it goes on to say, and then verse 26, it says, but if you don't forgive, God won't forgive you of your sins. So it's like it's a full relationship. God, forgive me for my sins, and forgive me if I have any grudges against anyone. Set me free. It's this open line of healing is what's going on. Verse 27, it says, again they entered Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking through the temple area. The leading priests and the teachers of religious law and the elders came up to him. They demanded, by what authority are you doing these things? Who gave you the right to do them? So basically they came up to Jesus and his posse, and they're like, what Bible college did you go to? Did you go to Calvary Chapel? Did you go to, the Jerusalem Institute? Where do you get this authority, man? Where's your credentials to do this? Basically, if you guys were doing evangelism out in the streets and someone comes up, hey, so why are you doing all this stuff? Are you a Bible scholar or what's going on? So Jesus, basically they put Jesus in check. They're all, okay, Jesus, you're in check. Let's get Jesus. Let's try to get Jesus now, the God of the universe. So what does Jesus do? I tell you what authority I do these things if you answer one question. Jesus replied, did John's authority to baptize come from heaven, or was it merely human? And then he goes on, answer me, punk. Verse 31, they talked it over among themselves like little gossipers. Oh, come here. These guys, Jesus, these little motley crew guys, look at these guys, we're going to get these guys, right? That's how they do it, little backstabbers over here. If we say it was from heaven, he will ask why we didn't believe John. But do we dare say it was merely human? They're like questioning themselves, what do we do? We're getting jacked right now. For they were afraid of what the people would do because everyone believed that John was a prophet. So they finally replied, we don't know. And Jesus responded, then I won't tell you by what authority I do these things. Checkmate. They put him in check and he puts them in checkmate. Just works them right there. Religious people, works them. So that's Jesus just going against the religious system. But what this whole Bible study came down to at the end of the day, it's all a heart issue, you guys. God just wants your heart. He wants it to be clean. We are the temple of the Lord, and we got to protect our minds, what we're putting into our minds, and what we're watching, what we're reading, and how we're living. And when we put those things in order, you guys, that's when you're going to see what God has for you, and that's when you're going to be on that path to heaven, and you're going to be aligned with him, and you're going to be producing fruit. And there's nothing like producing fruit. And maybe some of you that are here and you're not even a Christian, you're like, what in the heck is this dude talking about fruit all night for? I don't even understand. What is fruit? Fruit is basically the things in our life. When I came to God, I was using tons of drugs. I was involved with porn like crazy, using women. I was a nice guy, but I was just doing stupid, jerky things. I was out for myself, and there was nothing positive coming out of my life. Just actually self-destruction. And I had no purpose. My purpose was to wake up, go to work, go skate a park, and then go get drunk at a bar and hook up with a chick. And I do that every single day. That was my goal in life. That was my purpose. And I had a great job. I was making tons of cash, traveling the world, managing one of the best skateboard teams in the world, running amok. And I thought that was my purpose. But then all of a sudden I find Jesus Christ. God starts saying, now I'm going to show you what you were created for. And now I'm doing way more stuff. I'm still involved with the music industry. I'm still involved with the skateboard industry. I'm involved with the FMX scene. I'm involved with the art culture, the tattoo culture. I'm going around. I get to speak to kids that are dying and going to hell and introducing them to Jesus where they get eternal life. And now I'm doing concerts. God put a call in my heart to start speaking. I teach the Bible, okay, whatever, but they're punk rock Jesus stories, whatever. I'm not polished, but I'm doing that. A radio show happened. I found God brought me a wife that is totally out of my league. I mean, so many things happen. God starts putting you into his will, and he starts giving you everything that he had for you. And the whole thing is I wasted 23 years of my life, thought I was living the dream when it wasn't until I found God when I started living the true dream. Because now I have peace. I have rest for my soul. I know if I ever die, I'm going to end up eternal life. And not only that, I know that the creator of the heavens and the earth, I'm right here where I'm supposed to be right now. He wants me right here, right now. And there's nothing in the world more than someone to know their purpose. And that fruit in your life is all the good stuff just coming out, what God created you to do. And if you're here, and I don't know what you've been through, I don't know what's going on, but you heard this message and maybe this is making some kind of sense. And maybe, number one, maybe you're a Christian and you're not producing fruit. And you're like, dude, am I even a Christian? And that's a very good question. If there's no fruit coming out, I don't know if you really are a Christian. I mean, according to the Bible, a good tree can't produce bad fruit. A good tree produces good fruit. So if there's no fruit, I don't know if you even really have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Second of all, Maybe you're backslidden and you want to come back to the Lord. Maybe you're not even a Christian and you're like, dude, I need peace in my life and I need to find out my purpose in life. I want to give you an opportunity. If you're here and you want to receive Christ or you want to give your life back to God, or maybe you don't even know where you stand with God and you're like, I need to just make sure this is the one time and for all, just stick your thumb up and I want to say a prayer for you. It's that simple before I walk up the stage. Is there anyone here